challenging individual. But what they can do is they have a different level of perspective and witnessing to who they were when they were here. So our pursuit of mediumship is facts and proof, because we don't trust the fact that we're eternal. But the spirit world knows we're eternal. So their pulse is always healing, because they witness how unnecessarily we suffer because we can't let our stories go, or because of an action of someone that has transitioned to the spirit world that no longer can be accountable for how they affected our life. So that's where community, that's where this kind of powerful connection comes in handy. And I believe Dr. Daniel is raising her hand. So let's hear from her.
Austyn, one of the things, and we've talked about this a lot, about people being stuck, I know that many shamans and many mediums believe in rescuing people stuck in certain realms in the afterlife. I think you know that I personally actually don't believe in that, because I think this is just me and you tell me what you think, there are infinite levels of awareness in the afterlife, and everybody's in a different place depending on their personal growth trajectory and whatever their incarnation brought them here for. And that for us to say this person is stuck and I need to go in and rescue him seems to me to be arrogant and unnecessary. And I really like the way you say that, you know, the soul is never stuck. So is the idea of stuckness something that we just think because we're identifying with the physical personality? In other words, if the person was a drug addict, for example, or an abuser, we will think that they're stuck because our judgment on their life is that they were bad and therefore they're stuck. But in the soul world, there's really nothing that resembles stuckness. That is my question.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. So let me just put it like, if I had like a little thing here, it would be the disclaimer. First of all, I have no interest in disrupting anybody's belief system. I want to honor where you come from. So if you disagree, that's totally fine. That finite aspect of us fears, gets jealous, disconnects, feels lonely, has this experience that is isolating and that is separate from. The infinite self, our spiritual nature, knows that we're connected to everything and that we're energy. So it's really a discourse in what voice, what aspect of us is having the comment. Because there is a part of us that believes we can get stuck, but the differentiation is that's the human being aspect, because we fear death. We don't know what happens. So we've been taught that when people do something bad, they get punished. And this is a lot of what different belief systems have created, a fear of death, because we will look at, and my heart goes out to the people who experience, my family, suicide. You know, there are people who automatically think that's such a terrible thing. It's the evolution of the soul. So the stuckness is that finite part of us that doesn't know what the truth is. So what we'll default to is what we think we know or what we think we've been taught. I think fear is probably one of the least explored emotions out of all the emotions that exist in the world, because it's actually, I believe, the next moment of us we haven't stepped into yet. So it feels stronger than we do. And if we just leaned into that fear, if we just explored it a little bit, I think we'd find that. But people are allowed to have this idea of, I think the idea of rescuing, it's not a bad idea, but I think people feel helpless when someone dies and they want to do something. And when we feel that way as a human being with other human beings, we will oftentimes rescue. And most of the people on this call are nurturers or rescuers by nature. So we have all had some imprint somewhere along in our life where somewhere we had someone we couldn't rely on. And so we're hypersensitive to moments when we feel that there's a need. So we step in to help out, we step in to fix it because it makes us actually feel good, but we feel like we're doing something right. So I don't have a judgment at all. Has nothing to do with judgment. There's no judgment to people that do that. I'm just saying that as a spiritual being, we're energy. So energy doesn't get stuck. Right. So the human being part that gets stuck, you know the expression, what stays in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens as a human being stays in our biosphere. So that's the unfinished work, where all of the nurturers and rescuers, those that step in as nurturers, are so vastly needed in this world, because we're the ones that are going to take on. There was one gal in some group today that was having this discussion about how she realized that she's the transformer in the family. She's the one that's taken on the addictions in the family, and she's the one that's going to transform it, not because she's made that decision, but she's living differently. And all it takes is one soul to shift a soul pattern. So it doesn't run in the family as a curse or as something negative. It runs in the family because that's what your soul group's working to transform. So once that box gets checked and that particular issue gets dealt with, then the soul group can work on to the next bit of evolution. So Terri, does that kind of answer where you were going on that? And
yes, absolutely perfect. And I actually have another question, because you were talking about fear. And as you know, and maybe some other people know, my doctoral research is all about religion and its impact on the grief trajectory. And I wonder how much of that fear of someone being stuck, comes from our religious indoctrination. I mean, just even the concept fear of God, there's so much fear in it. And so our idea that our loved one is stuck, comes from our indoctrination into ideas like purgatory and hell and all of that. Yeah. Where else would it come from?
I am always very cautious about respect levels for what people believe. But I do believe that we are a culmination of what we've been told. And I know that a simple way that the Judeo-Christian anthology has somewhat influenced how we think is heaven is above us. So it's out of our reach, it's somewhere out there, so it doesn't feel personal, like a personal God. I've always wondered if the second coming of Jesus was when we understand that God is accessible to us, it's a personal God. It's not something outside of us, it's within us. It's us when we are in action of doing our good work and our service work. So I think we have these things along the way for our authentic selves to look at and to really question and say, do I believe that? It's not so much, we don't need to agree. And I think if we could take that on board, we'd have a lot less strife in the world. We don't need to agree. We just need to respect different ideas. So the whole idea of forums of discussion are to allow people to share ideas and really to help everybody get super clear on what they believe. If you disagree, far out, then you know exactly what you understand. And if you are someone who wants to rescue a soul and that really feels deeply spiritual and puts you in that alignment with you feeling acting as God in this world, then who am I to say that that's not a powerful usage? But I also know the actual people within the physical bodies need that assistance as well. So it's merely just a comment about it, but I think that it depends on the source where you get your information. And if someone incurs fear to anyone in a mediumship capacity or in an intuitive capacity, my only caution would be, please, please, please caregive yourself to know that if you're sitting with a practitioner, they should be in their infinite self. They should look like they've got their act together. They should appear to be and seem to be and feel to be someone who knows a little bit more than maybe you do at that moment, who makes you feel peaceful and loved. If you feel fearful, if they say something about a loved one that puts you in a place of anything but peace, healing, and expansion, then please give yourself and exit the conversation immediately. Because I've heard, someone say, well, your child has already incarnated to a different family. Or, I mean, if I was a mother and my child was in spirit, that might throw me a little bit. So, I mean, you have the empowerment within those situations to, pick these practitioners carefully, and your loved ones will help you with that for sure. But I care so much about the integrity of this work that it's just mandatory that I want to empower people in that situation to really pick someone who you trust, has done it a while, seems like they're loving, because there's some people that are very abrupt and people love that, but, that really works with what it is that you want from somebody. So I just wanted to add that in. So there's that. Okay.
So are you able to see the comments in the chat?
I am. I was just going to look at Susan's question. May I?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Susan, hello. I was told that people reincarnate every 30 years and we don't have a choice. That was horrible to say to me because then I wouldn't see my children. Okay. So there is nothing. First of all, our concept of time, think about this. Our concept of time is two-dimensional. You gotta love that limited thinking, right? So that means we see past, present, and future like a line. There is nothing in our world that's two-dimensional, really. So the spirit world, that's why when you're getting a message from a medium, you'll get messages like this, and they're not necessarily in linear order. They might hip hop around and kind of give you things like that. They have an ability to be outside of this dimension. So their ability to perceive time is quite different. So to me, God loved the person, Susan, that told you, because I really don't think people are trying to mislead people. But I think what they decided was that's what they believe, which is great. So it's a matter of listening to what they say and then having the discernment to say, boy, that doesn't work for me because I don't believe that I will not see my children. I know that my soul is connected to them. Now, there's also, it brings up another subject, which is a little bit offline on this, but we can totally bilocate, trilocate, be multiple places at the same time. In fact, there are plenty of people that think you're actually past, present, and future in multiple lives at the same time, which kind of makes my head hurt. So, they may be talking about an aspect of you that could be someplace else, but I promise you, there's no way that your loved ones would miss an opportunity at having an intervention. We're not the only one that misses them. That's why sometimes we get signs from them to let us know that they're around because they miss us too, which I love. That one touches my heart so much. When I get a message from my dad, like out of the blue, I'm like, slay me now. Okay.
I think that thing about 30 years might have come from Sylvia Brown. I could be wrong, but or maybe she said that everybody looks like they're 30 in the afterlife. A message that I received from my son in the afterlife was that we don't incarnate until everyone that has been influential in our soul family in this incarnation is also dead. Kind of all move together. So if there's one person on earth, like the guy who sideswiped your car and caused you to be paralyzed, even that guy, if even he is still on earth, we do not incarnate until everybody's out. What do you think of that?
I think that logically makes sense. And I think it would be a great answer that the finite self could come up with to make sense of it. It makes me wonder sometimes if the spirit world, there's, a little bit more chaos to it in a good way. But to me, it makes sense because I do notice, especially as generations come through in mediumship readings, that, there's alcoholism runs on one side of the family, but then you get someone who stops the pattern, then it stops and they move on to something else. So, and if everybody saw the movie Coco, which I just still love to pieces, there was that really poignant moments in that Pixar film where if the soul started being forgotten, they kind of dissipated and were being released to a different dimension. And it's really true because I know this for a really fun reason. I can't tell you how many people, like 4 or 5 generations back, all of a sudden show up when somebody does Ancestry.com or does ancestry work. I get all these people in Civil War costumes and like going back in time that are just going, tell them I said hi, because they're so excited to be remembered. So really, I think that film just blew my mind as far as the ways that it highlighted really the benefits of the beauty of mediumship, the beauty of honoring our families. Because if there's anything that I think I've learned from being a medium all these years, besides the fact that we need to do grief better and support each other in our grief, is that, boy, family and relationships, it's everything. I've never had a soul in the spirit world go, let me tell you about my Maserati. I've never gotten that. I've never gotten anybody talking about material wealth. It's just, it's that ego part, that's the human being part, that doesn't necessarily serve the spiritual evolution. It more cogs the wheel.
Here's another question that comes up a lot. Have you ever had a soul in the spiritual world? I know the answer to this. I'm sure everybody else does too. Say, oh my God, I'm burning in hell. I'm being punished for my sins. All that stuff that we're taught. As a medium, have you ever encountered anything remotely close to that? And I know the answer, but I want to hear you say it.
I love the fact that you're asking a question you already know the answer to.
Well, because I think people want to know that. When people are thinking like, my son committed suicide and I think he's in hell, does that really happen? Of all the people you've talked to on the other side, has anybody ever said anything about punishment and eternal damnation? Does that exist?
I think it exists as our human beings to human beings. I think they get very upset about that.
Right. It exists on this.
The unexpected part of mediumship is you're a conduit for these conversations. And it's when a medium gets choked up, it isn't so much their own emotion, it's that soul working through them. And sometimes the most stoic people can be the ones that I've got to hold on to a table to kind of work with, because there's so much coming through them to have this opportunity to talk to somebody. But, I think it's just the sadness to me of the human experience, that we have all of these ways of just feeling so distanced from our life and from each other. And it also, the spirit world evidence is that too in readings where, maybe a father comes through and he mentions somebody's wife, but he wasn't alive when that person was married, and that's on the other side of the family. And my client says, yeah, but that's the other side of the family. It's like, yeah, it is the other side of the family, but that's important to them now. They understand that that whole family is that's their entire connection. It's not just who their father was, who their mother was. It's, I'm connected to all these people, including the people that you're friends with now. We're all, that light that we created in the beginning of the forum. We are all connected that way, even to the incidental people that we encounter along the way. So I think it's a bigger, I just think we're afraid of love. We're afraid of connecting. We're afraid of being hurt. We're just afraid. But the thing is that you don't grow when you play it safe. You just don't.
Yeah.
Face planning is much better. Okay, let me go to some questions. You guys, thank you so much for, please feel free to submit questions, because I'm absolutely here to be of service to this group. That's my sole intention.
How long can you be with us tonight?
I am here until we stop talking.
Well, that could be many hours, so we will have.
Well, that's probably true, but you know what? I think we'll have an organic and a natural feel when we need to.
When you're worn out, you just let us know. And I love having you on this podcast because you do all the work, and I can just get my hands off the wheel and be the tech guys.
Okay. And let me just do a check-in with everybody, because I'm going to be getting to some of these questions, and I'm going to stay with Margaret and Joanna and Aaron and Wendy and these questions right here, because I want to go there. Can you guys all just chime in real quick and let me know if the topic of conversation and what we're talking about is assisting and helping you right now? Because I kind of want to keep an eye on, okay. I just want to get feedback. I encourage you. Yes. Good. Raise your hand, sing hallelujah. Awesome. Okay, guys.
No, do not unmute yourself.
Two darling little kids.
again on, okay, there's lots of hand raised. We need to unlock everybody. I have to do that. Okay, Austyn, hold on. I'm going to have to get you unmuted again.
I'm now getting private messages.
Okay, so folks,
Okay.
do not unmute yourself. Just use the chat feature.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have just absolute like white noise.
Oh God. Okay. Okay. I want to get to these questions. So I'm going to go to Shelley's question. I was told that my daughter, who passed 17 years ago, is too busy helping other souls to not come through as much as my son who passed 5 months ago. Can this be? Okay. Hi, Miss Shelley. First of all, I love you, Shelley, because you are connecting to people, and with 2 children in the spirit world, that's my first thing I want to say is I love you. Thank you for teaching all of us, teaching those around you, just being a teacher and being hopeful. Because Shelley, I just want to talk and celebrate your soul for a second. I love your soul. You are an optimist by nature, which is, I'm sure, been tested in all this, but I love your helpful nature. And I want to celebrate that, because when you talk about your daughter helping souls, I also can feel your daughter's soul being very much like her mother, wanting to continue things. And know that if you get that message from a medium, you know, your children always want you to be proud of them, no matter how they pass. So if she would be doing that, it would be because she would be aware of what you're doing and how you're navigating in the world. And I think she would want to be honoring you for that particular part. So I just want to celebrate that first thing. When a soul you have a soul that passed a while ago and another soul, I think the spirit world, it is an infinite intelligence. Ours is finite, so a little bit more limited. Their infinite intelligence, the beauty of it is that they are going to be aware of where the healing is necessary. So please don't think for any means, because I can feel, let me talk just a little bit about your daughter, since I can feel her. There is a carefree nature to her. There is I feel that this young lady was quite loving by nature, heart-centered by nature, and just optimistic. I mean, I almost feel like you and she would have been almost like a doppelganger of you, like a younger version of you. And I know that a lot of people would have called her angel on earth while she was here, because it was evident that she was already being of service in many ways. So I am connecting with your daughter very clearly. So she would have the intelligence to know that you might need to hear the messages from your son. And I also want you to know right now, I can feel your daughter, but your son is being intelligent, because he's not impressing himself upon me. So do you see what the spirit world's doing here? You said, my daughter has been told that she's busy, but my son is available. But I'm feeling your daughter, and your son is now stepping back. So again, when somebody says that to you, I want you to have the authenticity, which is audacity and authenticity together, which is audacity, which sounds odd, to just take it on board for yourself and say, does that ring true for me? No. Then what you do is you give it up to your kids, and you say, okay, you two totally different children, by the way, 2 very different children. You have to show mom, because I am your eternal mother, so show up, that is not true by showing up for me. And I think one of the things we don't do is like make them work for you. I mean, honestly, and I mean that with like so much respect, but I think we feel like we might be interrupting them or something like that. And if you ask them, I promise you, if it is not directly through you, if the off chance your grief is profound, they will find a way to get a message to you that they are absolutely present. And I also, Shelley, don't know what the hummingbird connection is, but I just want to throw that one out too. So let me see if Shelley said anything. Shelley, I lost my daughter 7 months ago. I don't know if that's the same Shelley. So anyway, Shelley, I hope that helps a little bit with that. Okay, Margaret. Not sure if this question got through. Why are so many young people dying from substance abuse? Not sure anyone could answer, but I'm wondering if you have any knowledge. Let me answer it by saying this. First of all, that is a truth that is just ridiculously true. I am blessed to work with a couple of organizations that support parents through the healing journey. And boy, that one is just it's too much. But our finite self, the human being is gonna never be at peace with that one because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I agree with you as a human being. On a spiritual level, I find the kids are miraculous in educating the world and bringing attention to things. I have I'll answer it with a little bit of a story that happened a number of years ago when the Sandy Hook situation happened. I was so flummoxed by that one because when kids are affected, it's just, so I said, I don't have an answer for this and I'm going to get asked about this. So I need a spiritual intervention now. I need a better way of positing this. And I was given this. So I went into meditation and I went up to this really beatific, like park lawn that had an almost perfect circle of bushes around it. And I was right in the center of the lawn around all these bushes. And I was like, where the heck am I? And I started looking around and all the bushes were like shifting a little bit and there were all these lights in the bushes. And the minute I felt the lights, I heard all this giggling and I realized I was it in a huge game of hide and go seek. So the minute I got that awareness, all of these little lights, it was like I got like all these just random lights and strands of Christmas tree lights all came up to me and they were all these little souls. And they were the children of the future who were just surrounding me with just this light to the point where my heart, which was so heavy, felt like someone just took it and went and just blew out all the grief. And I said, you guys, you've got to help me. What is going on? And they said, it's too bad the adults of the world run the show. Because if the children ran it, things like this would never happen. You've just forgotten the truth of who you are and what you have. But we remember. And when you've forgotten, we come in and we remind you. Because it doesn't make sense when we don't get to spend our entire life walking amongst you. And they shared how honored they felt that they were part of that journey. They shared the community that they had, and it just didn't fix the hugeness of it, but what it does was it gave me a piece of a spiritual answer why children sometimes have to be the ones to instigate change. And I hope that answers a little bit of it. I think there's some amazing things that have come out of the substance abuse issues. There's some amazing TED Talks. There's a paramedic, one second. There's a paramedic one that everybody should watch. This woman realized that when they were doing these interventions with these kids and trying to save them before they crossed over, they would come in with this huge team and they would do all this work and then they would absolutely leave them. And then their team, the paramedic team, would oftentimes encounter them the next time and they'd cross themselves over. And this paramedic said, this is ridiculous, we're doing this wrong. So she realized they weren't addressing the issue, they were putting a Band-Aid on it. So she got together a chaplain, a social worker, one of the paramedics who showed up on the scene, and a fireman, I think. And that group of 4, within 48 hours of the overdose, would sit with that individual and talk to them about what happened, where they are, get them hooked up with help, and help support the family. The statistics of the positive shift they've had as a result of just making a difference of connection has changed the numbers 50%. Now, if that was instigated all over the country, again, it's about raising awareness. Now, for the parents who are listening, who have children in the spirit world that have crossed over, on some levels, there's going to be an aspect of you that's not going to want to be interested in that part because it's too personal. And why is your child part of that evolutionary piece? These children that choose to educate us, to evolve this world, to step in, to do those things, choose these amazing parents, because the parents oftentimes become the voice box within this world while the child becomes the voice box in that. And so many times the parents and the child, look at Dr. Terri Daniel, who has created the Afterlife conference, especially because her son Daniel, and the whole reason why, can I share that, Terri, your last name? Yes? Yes? Okay. Terri's last name is Daniel because that was her son. But look at what she's created for all of us out of her grief, out of her loss. So there's just so much amazing things that can transpire out of that. And I just think if we are, it just begs a different conversation. If we're eternal, we're all going to die at some point. I don't feel anyone at a certain age should ever die. I mean, I don't think any of us think that that should ever be the case, but for some reason, it certainly wakes people up when it does, though. And I don't wish it on anybody, but I know from talking to these warriors and these amazing children in the spirit world who I just think are amazing. They teach me so much. They do. They teach me so much about being a better person and being accountable and not throwing people away and listening when people have problems. And when my publishers asked me to write a chapter on grief, instead of coming with my mediumship experience, and I talk about grief and death all the time, I went to 5 brilliant mothers whose sons are in spirit, and I asked them to teach us about grief and how to support and how to talk about it and what we could have done differently and what makes a difference. And I am so proud of those women. They didn't want to change their children's name in the book. The publisher wanted the names changed, and the mothers were, and we didn't. And I'm so glad, because those boys are educating us now. They're teaching us. So our physical life is one thing, but there are many people whose spiritual life impacts us tremendously. So I have such admiration for helping parents heal, and for Forever Family, and for so many groups where these parents come together, and our conference where people come together to process this together. And I don't think we should ever have the right answer for it, because it needs to just be addressed. It needs more attention, and it needs our care and our love. And hopefully more people like that paramedic are paying attention to what the solution is, not what the problem is. Because I think the problem gets the drama, the solution gets the answers, and we need the answers. I think we just need the answers. Terri has unmuted herself and is speaking, so I'm now going to pin her video and turn her mic on.
Should have done that. You heard me.
Okay, Terri, so now we want to start talking again, you were saying.
I muted myself because the dog is barking. A lot of people in my this evening. Somebody mentioned in the questions, I'm sure you saw it, that a shaman told her that her grief was keeping her child from moving forward in the afterlife. Yeah, that's what I said. So can you address that? I know everybody wants readings, but this is a really important question. So go, Austyn.
Okay, I'm a shaman. And first of all, I don't know who said that. Terri, do you have a name for me on that? You saw it in the thread. Wherever, whomever that person is, you know who you are. Again, here's a perfect example of, I hope that when that was said, that you had a feeling that there was something wrong with the statement. There is no way that your emotion and your love to someone is holding them back from anything. it's our souls make decisions to do things. And it shows you the power of free will. And we are accountable for what we do. So I don't talk about this very often, but it helps to be personal. So my sister-in-law crossed herself over. Well, she tried to take her life 16 years ago and had been in a coma for 15 years, and greatly impacted our family. And finally just passed to the spirit world this last fall. And ironically, just to let you know, mediums aren't perfect either. I don't know if I processed that grief yet. It was kind of anticipatory grief because we all were kind of hoping for her soul that eventually she would release. But I had a lot of questions about why she's still in spirit. Why has she not let go of the physical body? Why isn't she in the spirit world? And it gave me a lot to think about, but I also learned a lot from it. A very well-known medium kept bringing her in whenever I was around. And even if I was hiding in the audience, he would find me and he would say, "You're her advocate, you're her advocate, you're her advocate." Now, I tried during different levels of my shaman training to transition her and get her to the spirit world. And I tried all these things to facilitate it, but it's free will. Her soul chooses when to depart. Our souls will choose when to die. And we all have known that when we've had the opportunity to witness people who have been in the dying process, when they have ups and downs where you think, oh my God, they're going, no, they're back. You know, there is an aspect, and I hear this from souls all the time. I wasn't ready to leave yet. I'm sorry I dragged it out a couple of extra days, but I was waiting for this person to visit or this kind of thing. Your grief does not negatively impact their soul's progress, because once they have physically left the physical body, their soul is spiritual. They're back. They are released from the physical realm, and they are returned to the spiritual aspect of them, and they process their life. Albert Brooks did a great job in the movie that he did with Meryl Streep. Terri knows the answer to this. I wish you would mouth. Say it. Wait. God, I can't unmute. There, what is it?
The one where they eat ice cream in heaven and never get fat. What the heck?
It's, okay, somebody has to be writing this in the notes. Defending your life. Thank you very much. God, it's so nice to have smart people, isn't it? Isn't it nice to be around smart people? Yes, defending your life. But so there really is, because what is the point of coming to Earth if we don't have a moment to review the things we've done? So if you're processing your grief, you're not holding them back, you're not anything. What you're doing is processing and understanding the depth of love. You're understanding that, and but that bandwidth, that depth of feeling, that energy of grief is it's kind of like, I was just in Hawaii, so I guess I'm getting an odd analogy, but it's kind of like poi. It doesn't flow really fast. It kind of, grief has a really, if you're as an energy practitioner, when you encounter grief within an energy field, it's almost like the energy is just kind of slowly but surely undulating. It's moving, but it's undulating at a slower level. So think about this. If the spirit world is without the physical form and they're just energy, that's a quick, lightning fast movement. So if we're in slow motion and something quick happens, we may miss it. So it's not that they're not around us when our grief is profound. We just may not be at the speed in order to be able to connect with it, which is why oftentimes people think that when somebody has died, their loved ones aren't around. And it's not true. They are absolutely there. They are absolutely there. We just may not have a sense of it. And that's why someone else in the family might get the message. So please don't put yourself in timeout and think that your loved ones don't care and that they like Uncle Freddie better than you. It's not true. They're still trying to get a message to you, so the love is still there. Okay. Is that, Terri, yes, that works?
That works. All right, so give us some more readings. I know that's what everybody's
okay. Okay.
What do you think of EVP? NITC.
Electric voice phenomenon, and is it, what's the other one?
I don't know what that is either. Someone's asking that.
EVPs are electronic voices. I think it's amazing. There was a time in the spiritualist movement.
Image, they don't. Image.
What was that again?
Yeah, they don't. They take the ear out of you. Okay?
It's like spirit photography, right?
You're not a concentrate.
Okay, so I think it's like spirit photography. Absolutely. Why can't they impress? Why can't they use the physical world to make impressions? So yes, we can hear there. If you want some great research Leslie Flint. I think we need to mute somebody.
Okay, whoever you are, sir, that's speaking, please, please mute your microphone.
Terri, can you do it on your end? Do you mind? Because I don't want to like disrupt the conversation. There we go. Thank you, love. So, I mean, there is a power that happened, much like how we started, where all of us came together and we were all connecting lines of light to each other to create a common intention and a healing space for all of us to step into, for me to be of service to the group in whatever capacity is necessary. Okay. When in the old days, they used to sit in spirit circles and prayer circles, and there would be a group of people that would sit together with the intention of allowing the spirit to build with them so they could allow this interdimensional communication. So we don't sit in spirit. We don't do these spirit circles anymore because a lot of us don't have the patience for it. But physical mediums are mediums, and this is a big conversation right now because there have been people that have been who have been exposed as doing fraudulent activity with this. If you want a true physical medium or a direct voice medium, research Leslie Flint, Flint. He's an English medium, and he had one of the rare abilities to bring forth spirit voices. It wasn't through his trachea, through his voice box. The spirit world created with what's called the ectoplasm, which is a membrane-like subject that comes from either the nose, sometimes the mouth, the ear. It creates a voice box outside and within the soul space, and through which the spirit world would use it as a voice box, and literally the voices of loved ones could be heard. James von Prague has a fantastic story about that. He was one of the people that I know. I don't know that many people that knew Leslie Flint, a couple of people, but Robert Brown is another one who actually had the experience of sitting with Leslie and having that experience. That capability, I don't think we have that in the world right now. And it really takes vigilance and care, but perhaps at that time that's what's needed. But look, the spirit world is talking. There are so many mediums, credible and who knows where, that are working in this world to try to facilitate this communication, so they're doing it for a reason. And I think it's because we need a more spiritual perspective on things. So is it possible that they can take a dark room and negative, photo paper and put an impression on it? Heck yeah. Can they do a ports where flowers fall from the ceiling and pennies and so on and so forth? I've had it happen in my office. I've had flowers move. I've had pennies show up on the ground. It's about giving them the permission and sitting with the intention of allowing it, not making it happen, which is the finite self of us trying to control it. It's this awareness that it's possible. So if you're really interested in it, I have a friend of mine who has a group that she's been sitting with for a while, and they started with a napkin. And they've been sitting for about a year, but they can get the napkin to articulate. It moves. It can shape people. It's amazing. But again, it's a patience, because you have to sit there with the promise of it, not with the expectation of it. So I just want to say all that. Okay. Oh, hi, Sandy Goodman. Yay, Sandy Goodman. I love you, sweet lady.
I love you.
Sweet lady. Isn't she wonderful, Terri? She's such a good lady. She's going to be at the Afterlife conference this year. Is she speaking?
I wanted her to, but she doesn't want to. What Sandy's doing instead is she is actually conducting grief sharing sessions.
Yes.
Amazing. So if any of you are at the conference and you want to do a grief sharing session with Sandy, who's lost 2 of her children,
yes,
a book called Love Never Dies, which is one of the books that totally taught me
beautiful book,
everything I know. She will be there. We love you to pieces, Cindy. So Austyn, I'm pushing you back to doing readings. So go
Okay,
ahead.
let me just transition for a second because I've been talking a bit. I want to get online, so I'm going to see where I am. Okay. I am not exactly certain with whom I'm with. Lisa, I'm drawn to go to you and your dad, Alan. Lisa, I'm coming to you. Lisa's iPad. I'm going to you with your dad, Alan, with one L. Miss Lisa, you would understand your father to not be someone who would ever go to a medium. Am I correct? And if you can just type, and if Lisa can be the yes, okay. Your dad, Lisa, is totally cracking me up. He has this look, he looks like a bulldog right now, you know, like, what the hell are you doing? But I also know, my friend, that there is a dynamic relationship between the two of you, because when I mention your name, he really quite defrosts, and that bulldog-ish kind of personality transitions quite a bit. Okay. I know that your dad had 2 rounds with this cancer, and I know that the family was so beautifully behind him. The second time around, your father really quite shut down, he tells me a bit, and I get this feeling that there is a sense of regret on his part for your dad's a fixer. Your dad is this kind of, he's very much of a thinker. And where I'm so thrilled, my love, that you were his daughter, is you're a feeler. So you were the conduit to open your dad's heart. I think the man would have bent over backwards for you. And I know that he kind of gives me this impression there aren't that many people that your father would have felt like that genuine connection with. So you really, like, you being in his universe, I feel like he couldn't have walked this earth without you. I'm also aware that in his care, you're one of the main, he's saying circus leaders. So again, your dad doesn't like chaos. He doesn't like a lot of people around, but he's giving me this impression that it was like a circus, like all these people being around, because he just likes things the way he did. But you did some beautiful things, like making sure his hair looked okay and making sure that he looked presentable. And the other thing, Lisa, I want to say, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talked about the dying process and how there's such a loss of dignity. And what I want to tell you, you did so well, is you know your father so well that when your father was bathed or your father was caregiven that way, you actually stepped out of the room to give your father the respect that he deserved. So one, you could maintain that relationship of daughter to son, daughter to father, but also so you could respect him and have him feel that respect. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the validation that that's true. Your father is fine. He is a little bit curmudgeon-y. He's also a little bit kind of proud about who came to his celebration. He kind of wants to boast about that a little bit. You were very careful about the pictures that you picked for him to have shown, and also the music was very sentimental, Lisa, for you in particular, that connected. There was one song in particular Dad sang that was very much a song that bridged your soul to his soul. So he's just so grateful for that. I know that you witnessed a lot of physical things, but I want you to know that your dad is like downright curmudgeon-y and fun again, and he's really lovable. So I get why this man is, you played Cat Stevens. Good, the daughter song. Okay. It just touches me, not because of just how beautiful it is to connect to these people, because he's celebrating all the things that you did. And he also makes me aware, Lisa, that first of all, you would not have heard your father apologize very much, but your father is saying to me, there are 3 words, and they're little, and I should have said them more. So just please know that your dad is saying, I love you. And he's saying to everyone if I can tell, and he's really gritty, he's funny. He's like, if I can tell everybody, he goes, I don't believe I'm doing this. If I can tell everybody something, I just want to tell them to tell people that you love them. Because he says, don't regret it. Don't regret anything. He says, just do that for me. And then he's telling me, like, he'll enforce it. He's funny. Lisa, your dad is hilarious. He reminds me a little bit of Archie Bunker, a little bit, just a little bit. But I know that, okay, and your dad is hilarious. So good. I'm glad, Lisa, affirmations and all sorts of things. This makes me super duper happy on this. If people are reading the thread, he told me during his transition, he didn't speak to anyone and he couldn't talk. My dad is hilarious. Okay. And I know he said to you, he loved you. I just also feel, and I also feel like there's a brother that there's not the same kind of relationship there that he needs to acknowledge as well. So anyway, setting you love and light on that one. So Lisa, thank you for letting me connect in with your dad. Okay, I'm gonna scan here. Okay, you're so welcome, Lisa. It's my joy. Okay. Thank you, Terry, for my website. You're hilarious. Okay.
I'm here to sell.
I'm here to heal. It's all good. Not heal. I'm here to just, what the heck? I'm here to enjoy all these lovely people. Okay. Okay. I will undoubtedly be talking to two different people. Okay, I'm going to be talking to two different people. I have a feeling on this, unless it's the same family, but I don't feel like it's the same family. I have two young men coming forward. Now, I feel they are from different families, but the families know each other now, not from life, but from group. So I must have two people in this seminar who are part of the same group, who both transitioned, and the feeling I get from both of them is that they transitioned themselves from substance abuse. I also know, and also, hang on, that is an incorrect way of saying that now. Oh, shucks. That was part of the paramedics thing. That's the incorrect way to refer to people that have an overdose. No, actually, I think that's the correct way. From a substance addiction. That's the way to say it. Not overdose, but a substance addiction. Okay. So I am looking for one of the young boys that I'm connecting to, and he feels younger to me than the other gentleman. And this first younger gentleman, I want to place in his late teenage years. This is a really super great guy. I feel like he's very popular, and I feel that he's quite like a BMOC on campus, so known to a lot of his comrades. He's a very kind heart, and the feeling I get is this situation that transpires for him is like a one-off. It's either it happens once, or this is not something that he has an addiction with. This is a one-time thing, and he crosses over from it. The other gentleman who's joining him, okay, one could be mine. Oh, really, Sandy? Okay. The other gentleman that I'm talking about, I know that this is an issue he's had his entire life. I feel that I want to place, I know that he would have had a close call when he's 36, and then I want to place crossing over beginning of his 40s. So he's my second gentleman that I want to talk to, but this gentleman who's in his crosses when he's in his early 40s, and this gentleman who is the younger soul, I honestly believe these parents know each other. So can you, I want to make sure that I'm, so, okay. I'm not sure how to find the mom, and I feel like both are talking to, I feel like the younger soul. Okay, let me. Yikes! I'm trying to figure out how I with the group figure this one out. So who would understand the younger soul? Okay, so Sandy, you don't think that you know anybody here, but you would understand, Sandy, that the younger male, correct?
Hello?
Is that Sandy?
No, this is this is Andrea from Michigan, and I think that you might be in touch with my son Christopher and PJ, and they were close in age, and I am friends with the mom, and she is aware of healingparents.org, but I always call in to listen. I don't have Zoom, so I just call in and listen. I think they came through together about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. PJ and Christopher did.
Okay,
So
and Andrea, you would understand the ages that I'm talking about, so the late teenager and then someone in their early 40s?
Well, okay, so that would be my son Christopher and Drew, who was 45, who we were close with. Yeah.
Okay, so your mother, you know the mother. Okay, that absolutely works for me. I hope that, so first of all, thank you for being present tonight. And also, this is one of those beautiful opportunities where the spirit world will talk about, will help a message get to somebody else. Okay, so let me so Drew is your friend's son, Christopher is your son, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you would understand Christopher to just be this light, Christopher has the most appealing, contagious personality.
Absolutely.
I feel like people would have, commended him for the things that he'd done. He's everybody's friend. One thing I love about Christopher is he's like the first person who, he'll notice like the person that gets left out of something. Like he's a big underdog scooper. He'll go and find the person that doesn't feel included, doesn't feel something. And I just feel like he's so much of a positive humanitarian. I don't feel he has any enemies at all. I mean, what a delicious child to bring into this world, Andrea, for sure. As I'm connecting with him further, I just feel that you would also understand that this was like a one-off. This is like he gets with a group of people and something happens, and then he's the one out of all of them. And I feel like he was with people who had substance, who had different experience with drugs, but I know he's a newbie in the group.
Exactly. Oh my gosh,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And I know as I'm saying this, that here's where your son's heart just slays me, because he's very worried that people are getting in trouble because of it. Wow.
Okay.
Because he tells me that there are two people that are responsible or being held responsible for this get together or this thing. One of them I feel like has either gotten some kind of, either the police have gotten one person or one person's been pointed out, and then the other person is not quite yet known or is a little bit in the shadows or is either the informant for the other. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and I just need you.
I've always felt from the beginning that he would never want anybody, in trouble.
No.
It was, yeah.
No, not at all. Because I mean, God love Christopher, and first of all, so present to me, so in this room. I think all of us should probably be able to feel how sweet his soul is, and good dear Lord, how adorable of him to be worried that he's getting people in trouble.
I know, that's him,
so,
exactly.
First of all, Christopher's aces with me. Like, I just love him. He talks about his tennis shoes. He talks about his closet. And he talks about how things are kind of organized in his closet still. Do you understand that?
Yes, his tennis shoes are right next to the bed I sleep in.
Okay, that makes him super excited. And he also is teasing you for smelling his shoes.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I put my
toe on. He's totally teasing you for smelling his shoes because he's like, my mom smells my shoes. She misses me that much. It's almost like, Andrea, just so you could know, it's like he's teasing you because he's like, well, I'm in this recovery room and we're talking about how much we miss our parents, and I'm trumping everybody because I can get my mom to smell my shoes. Like he's hilarious. He's so charming to me. And I also know that his ashes you have memorialized, it looks like in silver.
Silver, yeah.
Or there's some pendant. There's some pendant that he's making me aware of that things have either been like crushed into diamond or inlaid into something.
He has a silver necklace that's right next to his picture that I wear sometimes. He wore it all the time, and it's silver, and we wear it everywhere for special occasions.
But there also is something about his ashes being put into something that's a commemorative jewelry piece.
Oh, his locket. I think you're speaking of the locket that his godfather got me. Yeah.
And it's silver, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I'm harping this is not for me. He is really wanting to prove something. So he needs to be heard. Because that connects to that's his cousin, right? Right? That has the locket.
It's a friend, yeah.
Friend. So this would be.
I think you're speaking of the ashes that are at his godfather's house, I think.
Okay. So it's just a way that he would be trying to make sure. He also loved going to paintball stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because he just did something really funny. He just took a paintball and he goes, I'm going to get everyone in my family. Boom, 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 boom. So he's showing me where he's delivering the messages, but he's doing it with a paintball, which helps me know that he played paintball. He's really awesome. So first of all, you're doing an amazing job with communicating with him because he works very well with mediums. He likes the fact that I'm celebrating him. Now he's getting a little cute. He wants me to give him like a medal or something. And he doesn't mind, and he doesn't mind an extra cookie because he's got a little bit of a sweet tooth. But anyway, please know that Christopher, and I know that, so Christopher now and I'm going to make this quick with Drew since Drew's mother and father aren't connected to the call for the love and consideration of everybody else. And yes, I need to say, Casey Smith, thank you for celebrating Miss Andrea as such a beautiful and strong mom. Aces. That's beautiful. That's outstanding. And you are a sweet lady because you also help other people. Are you a group leader for helping parents heal, or are you looking to create an organization like that? Because your son's nodding his head.
Yeah, I'm a caregiver, and I just started a new position going to people's homes.
Okay.
So I think he's proud of that. He sent me a few signs saying, way to go, Mom. Yeah. He
is. He just put up, because you remember the old NBC thing, Proud as a Peacock? He just took a big peacock feather and went, and like opened it up behind him. And it's like, proud as a peacock. So if you had not have said that, I would have said the exact same thing, right? So he's very clear, very personable, very good at communication. And he's also saying, keep those cards and letters coming. So do people write him letters or post things on his Facebook page?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do. I know I get a lot of calls from his friends, and I still send text to his phone.
That's it. That's it. Okay. And just please know that he knows so much about it that I just want to touch into Drew for just a second, and thank you everybody for the permission to spend a little bit of time here. Drew's parents, that's a whole thing that there is so much unresolved emotion and guilt around Drew's passing, especially from the father about what he felt like he didn't do during his lifetime, that I feel like your impulse to want to assist them to gain some extra guidance and insight is really a good one. You unfortunately can't force them to do something, but if you can just put this, so do you see what Drew's doing here? Drew is creating a natural conversation for you to approach his parents and say, this was mentioned, he came through, and he talked about what you guys are feeling and that he is aware of it, because he says, Drew tells me you got to go real lightly with his family, because his mother believes quite, has the idea that this is possible, but I feel like there's parts of the family, possibly because of beliefs, that would not agree with mediumship whatsoever. So he's finding and he's laughing about this because this isn't the most politically correct gentleman. He's just saying, he goes, I'm finding a polite way of approaching them. That'll be a new one for them. So it also is an evidence that he's trying a different way.
Oh my God.
Please let his mother know. And he's also talking about the twin boys. So I don't know, are the two boys that are close in age. So I don't know where the twins are or wherever, if those boys have come into the world since his passing, but he's just making that awareness. So anyway, I just want to send you love and light, Miss Andrea, as was celebrated before. You are an outstanding mother, because I can feel where a parent is within the grief when I connect with their children. And your service is what is creating the healing for you to move forward. And it doesn't mean that your grief, it dissipates, because it's unfortunately daily preoccupation, but the way you're framing it, I would love it if you would support people through this journey, because I think your vulnerability, your ability to let things affect you, and your transparency is one of the most stunning things about your soul.
Thank you so much. That's such a compliment.
It would not just be my soul speaking, my friend. It would be, think of all the people you're affecting. Think about their families in the spirit world. That's their gratitude coming through. It's what I'm feeling because I'm being overwhelmed by it, by so many people.
I have no words. Just thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for getting the message to Drew's family. And I think your son is aces.
Thanks.
And you just keep smelling his shoes, because it gives him a good story to tell.
Yeah, and I wanted to tell you, Drew was very close to his dad.
My son had a rare neurological condition, and he had no body odor. It was very strange. And after he died, we went through his clothes and his socks. He didn't have underwear. He was diapers, but we smelled everything, because we were trying to get his smell, and there wasn't any because of this weird neurological thing. And my husband at the time, with his bizarre sense of humor, said something hilarious. He said, he died and left us without a cent. Nobody's laughing. Nobody gets my joke. Okay.
I got it latently. I'm sorry.
That was a total dud. Anyway, sniffing the clothes is a wonderful thing to do.
It is, but I like that too. I was looking at the thread of comments. I'm sorry. Bad co-host. Okay. And Shelley got it. Yay.
Oh,
okay.
God. Well, one person.
Thank God. And so did other people, which is fantastic. Okay. Thank you guys for joining in. Co-host suck. Okay. All right. Terri, how are we doing on time?
We can do whatever you want. This is totally up to you.
Okay.
An hour and a half, and you tell me whatever you want to do.
I would love to stay reading. My only challenge is I have a friend of mine demonstrating tonight, and I'm supposed to be in Santa Monica.
Okay, and that's a long way and a shitty drive from where you live.
No, it's not. It's a beautiful day outside. So let me just say this. First and foremost, I am so grateful for everybody coming on board tonight. Please know and also I also want to thank you for indulging me with talking probably more than bringing through messages. I apologize, because one of the more challenging things as a medium is feeling like people haven't been made aware of the fact that their loved ones are around. So I honestly, as a human being, will always feel remiss if I can't read everybody, and I thank you for honoring the people that received messages. Secondarily, thank you for holding the sacred space for the people who did receive messages. And again, I'm an accessible medium. Sounds funny. So I oftentimes have forums and things and question and answer things within my work. My website, as Terri beautifully stated, is austynwells.com. I really wrote my book, Soul Conversations, for people to enhance their ability to connect with the spirit world and understand their soul. You would be doing me such a favor to if you enjoy the book, if it speaks to you, to share it with people, because books get found and discovered and shared, and that's how they become more available. So that would mean the world to me, because I think it can help people. And I am more than willing, if you want to send me who you're sending the book to, I can write an inscription on Kindles, apparently, which is crazy, as well as I can send something, because I'm all about channeling a message for a book to have a specific dedication, so I can do that too. But most of all, we have this whole wagon wheel of conduit light going toward a central source right now. So before we pop off and say goodnight for the evening, just release the writing instruments or anything at this point, and just allow yourself to settle back into your heart. And I just want you to take a moment to notice how it might feel different. We've spent the last hour and some talking about love and sharing and feeling compassion and empathy for each other. And you may notice an expansion on this point from what you sensed initially to a different place and space now. What that is the power of love. What that is this amazing ability for all of us when we come together as community to be much more powerful together. So let's all go back to that line of light going to that center column. Let's send love and light to Andrea. Let's send love and light to Sandy. Let's send love and light to every single one of us now. So let's all go into that column of white light and allow ourselves to receive messages and love from our loved ones. So just take a moment to imagine a pet, a loved one just joining you right now in that column of light, no matter who it is. And imagine creating that conduit of light from your heart to their heart, so you're creating a spiritual bridge for your hearts to communicate with each other. Should there be anything in your heart that you need them to know at this moment, imagine it going through color, through that line of light into their heart and illuminating their whole soul. And watch how their soul changes. Maybe it's an aurora borealis. Maybe they become a rainbow. Maybe they're just one color of light, one color. Now allow their soul to amass the energy of love toward you, and see it as a singular color or multiple colors across that line of light into your heart, and feel that connection. Feel that coming into your heart and expanding into your chest, your abdomen, down your legs, your knees, to your ankles, to your feet, through your shoulders, down your arms, into your neck, into your head, and then into the soul space that surrounds you like a big giant bubble. And imagine those bubbles now connecting together in this column of light, so all of us are now one concentric, beautiful bubble floating together. Mother, Father, God, to the angels and archangels and ascended masters and guides, to those that allow us this evening and this moment and this place and this time. I thank you, Christopher. I thank you, Drew. I thank you, Alan, with one L, for being so beautifully communicative tonight and proving to us that the spirit world is evident and close and ready and willing. Teach us, allow us to be receptive, overwhelm all of us with messages from love and light to empower all of us to be of service in this world, to transcend our own personal adversities so we can be the best versions of ourselves, to reflect your evolution and our evolution so we can continue to help and heal and illuminate this world. Everyone step out of that circle now, back into that place in that big, big circle. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And we now allow this beautiful sacred space to be beautifully dissipated, so each one of us comes back into our own space and place. thank you all so much for the honor of being with you this evening. I am so grateful for you, because if it wasn't for your trust, I would not have this sacred job that I have. May you walk lighter, may you be brighter, and thank you for gifting this world with the miracle of you. Because there is nobody in this world that is the same. We need you. We need your presence. We need your authenticity. We need your voice. And most of all, we need you, soul. So may you gift those that you love and this world with just the miraculous presence of your being. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Love you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Namaste, Joanna. Thank you, Rosemary.
Bye.